Welcome to The House, a real estate podcast that breaks down all the walls and helps create your open floor plan to success. We sit down with the movers, the shakers, and everyone in between to hear their stories and how to build success in this world. So draw up those building plans and start pulling permits, because this is The House and we're breaking ground now.
All right, welcome back to The House podcast. I'm your host, Josh Handler, one of the founders of the Handler Zimmerman team, and I am super excited for today's guest. Connected on Instagram, known about him, seen him around. I think this is maybe the first or second time we actually probably seen each other in person. But we're not here for a rainbow cookie, even though he brought the rainbow cookies out today.
That's right.
But you may know him from brewery. You may heard him from Eric Braun, maybe not your average lender. Contour Mortgage in the house. Thanks for coming.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So
it's always a pleasure.
I want to dive right in. You know, we were chit-chatting for a couple minutes prior. Before we get started, though, dial back for a minute. Give everybody a quick little blurb about yourself, what got you into the mortgage industry, cool. And we'll start there.
Okay, cool. So again, my name is Eric Braun, as Josh said, commonly known as Not Your Average Lender. That's my Instagram handle. That's kind of how I've made a name for myself in the industry. So I got in the business 6 years ago. I started as a telemarketer. Okay. So I worked for a loan officer as his sales assistant, basically.
So I was just cold calling,
pounding the phone all day, piquing people's interest, handing them off to the actual loan officer. And at that point in my life, I was definitely at a crossroads, let's just say. Whether I wanted to do mortgages as a career, that was never in my mind, even when I took the job. And even after a year being at the job, it was just a job at that point.
I feel like that's a lot of people, though. Not many people wake up and I want to be a realtor one day, or I want to be an LO. You're not thinking you want to do that as your career job. Correct.
So I fell into the business because I met somebody and I asked him for a job, and he was like, "Come work with me." And I didn't even know what he did. Just to show you where I was at in life, I had no idea what interview I was going to, and I didn't even ask questions at the interview. I just, how much do I get paid, and that's pretty much the extent of it. So that beginning, 1 to 2 years in the business, I learned sales skills. I learned life skills that I didn't have at 20 years old. And I learned the power of being surrounded by good people. And then I was like, you know what, let me take this thing seriously. I got my license, started to build my business, started to brand myself on social media. That's when I came up with the whole Not Your Average Lender thing. And now fast forward to today, we're doing very well, thank God, and I have my own team and staff now, and new levels, new devils. As you start to scale your business, you start to realize, you start to run into business owner problems. It's not just loan officer problems.
Of course.
But I love the mortgage business, and everything is done for me, and we're just getting started. So
the main question, how many times did it take to pass the test?
Once.
Not many people could say
once. I got an 84.
That's
dude, decent,
for anybody
right?
That doesn't
I got
know
lucky
about the LO test. It is probably one of, if not the hardest test I think you could possibly have to take. It is unbelievably difficult.
Yeah, it's up there with the series 7. Yeah. Definitely harder to pass the loan officer test than pass the realtor test.
I wish they made it like that.
Yeah, and I wish we had to do as much education as you guys, because we only have to do a 20-hour course or a 21-hour course.
We have to do 22 hours every 2 years.
But to get licensed, how many?
To get licensed is a 75-hour course.
So, and what I was told is the reason being is your industry has been regulated longer. Okay. So they've added stuff along the way. Our industry just got regulated after the crash. But in my opinion, to actually pass that test, it should be a 70-hour course, because there's so much information that they try to jam into that 20 hours or 21 hours. I forgot what it was. And we also have to do CE every year and everything like that for each state, which is a pain in the butt because I just got licensed in a bunch of states. But first time at the test, I passed it. I took the course, didn't do anything for 2 weeks, and then crammed for 3 days. I stayed home and just read the book. I didn't do any of the practice test stuff that everybody tries to do. I just read the book
over and over.
And yeah, I got I did very well in one module that carried me through the other ones very well. But yeah, that's
super hard
test.
test. But if you could pass on the first shot, you know you either are a really good studier or you know what you're doing. Because I honestly, so I started getting into mortgages when I was doing real estate at the same time, obviously through Sal, like we know.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to do both. I was,
Right.
I didn't know much about the mortgage industry at the time. And I was, 1 year into real estate, maybe a year and a half. I was like, I'm going to do both. And then I realized, shit, like you literally need to be in the office like all day to really keep files moving the right way, staying on top of your clients or looking into new business and networking. Like you can't really do both full time and do both really well.
right.
I
don't know anybody who's a top producing LO and a top producing realtor. It's one or the other.
It's one or the other. And, I learned real quickly, I was like, you really can't do both.
Right.
So you kind of just had to pick and choose. And I was like, real estate was always my preferred.
Right.
So I ended up going that route. But I was like, you know what? Let me try to take a test. Let me try to take the test just to see if I can, take my license. I didn't do much studying at all. Thinking, you know what? I didn't study through real estate exam. Like I just knew about it, maybe from buying my house or this or that, or just look. I figured I could just get by. Like the real estate one, all right, I passed. It was no problem. Let's do the same thing. Bombed.
Yeah.
Like not even close. Right. So I'm like, this was miserable. And then I was like,
At least you have some respect for LOs now.
dude, if the people that take the test, you're like, shit, like when it's crazy.
What's cool, forget the test. So what's cool is both, you're familiar with both sides of the business.
That's the one thing I do.
So as a realtor, you not only can be a better realtor, but also like what LOs deal with.
I think every realtor should become or try to become a LOA.
Yeah.
Because when I did that, I learned so much background of what happens behind the scene. Not you get your offer accepted because they got a pre-approval and your job is done. Cool. Like really what goes on.
Yeah.
And honestly, it helped me now, even to this day, when I make an offer, I send them my business card from, Cardinal. I send them my real estate card. I say, listen, they're pre-approved with us. They're fully vetted. Like there's not every cookie crumb is, swept.
Accounted for.
And it goes a long way from, I'm not like that standard agent that's making an offer anymore.
Right.
So I really understand it from start to finish. And I think a lot of realtors, even agents that are in the business for 20 years, they know about what goes on in the mortgage, but they don't really know what goes on in the mortgage. Right. So having that knowledge.
How could you? As a realtor, you're out there showing houses. You're trying to work on your craft. You're trying to bring in business, get deals into contract. What time do you really have to sit down with the loan officer on every buyer you work with and actually go through their file? The thing with our business is there's so many nuances too. So it's like you can understand.
There's so much stuff. It's incredible.
You can understand the basics, but still have no idea how to put together a file.
Yeah, there's just so many moving parts.
There's levels to it.
It's like, his debt on here, but if we raise this, this income doesn't count. This counts.
And if we go conventional, the income's less, and we can't exclude this. And it's
there's so much moving parts. You really, once you know it, you're like, you don't want to bust your LO's balls.
Yeah.
But when you don't, you're like, dude, what's going on?
Yeah.
You just keep calling.
Yeah.
But getting into
isn't this easy? Isn't you just look at a pay stub and you just throw a pre-approval out there and just hope that it's not like that for most files or for a lot of files.
Yeah, and that's when the problem is you have some LOs that they'll take all the verbal bullshit over the phone and they're like, yeah, I got your why is your pre-approval taking 2 hours? This guy did it for me in 20 minutes. Yeah, because he gave you a bogus pre-approval, basically. Right. We want pre-approvals where they verified all your physical documents. I don't need to take your word for it because the $50,000 you said you made as your self-employed, you rolled off $45,000 and you showed $3,000.
Right.
You're not going to get approved.
Right.
Right? So it just comes to the point where you want to deal with somebody that knows what they're doing.
Correct.
Well, now my wife wants to walkie-talkie me on my watch. I'm in a podcast.
That's great.
Oh, we got to message her back. I'm in a podcast right now, and you just interrupted us. You're going to be on this podcast. I'll talk to you later. So, literally, now, as an LO, you've been doing it for...
Roger that.
That's great. Use that clip.
Use that clip. So, literally... As you're scaling, you're becoming busier and busier, and you're, as any business, you got to put systems into place.
Right.
Right. What have you been doing, or in the, I guess, mortgage and real estate, probably very similar, but what kind of things are you doing to now be able to handle the amount of volume that you're doing organized and be able to now take that to be able to scale to do double or triple the amount of business that you're doing now?
So the first thing that every loan officer and realtor should do when they go to scale, any business owner really, is an exercise that I was taught. It's called divide and conquer. So you list out all of the things that need to get done on a daily basis on every file, all the stuff that you're spending time on, and you assign that task to either yourself or a person on your team. Reason I say that's the first thing is before you go to hire, before you go to delegate, you need to clearly identify who is doing what and whose responsibility is their responsibility, or what responsibility is their responsibility.
Absolutely.
If you don't do that, what's going to end up happening is you're going to hire somebody, and you may have a good idea of what they're supposed to be doing and what you're going to offload to them. But if you're not super clear on it, they can't be super clear on it, and then they're going to be confused about their job. What up? So second thing that you have to do is it comes down to systems, right? So what I did after I kind of figured out all the tasks that needed to be done in my business on a day-to-day basis, and I assigned them to the person on my team that should be doing it. At first, a majority of those tasks still fell on me, and I'm continually trying to get more stuff off my plate so I can focus on my highest and best use. But after you do that, you want to map out the perfect process from A to Z, meaning your customer and what the experience that they're going through. So what does that look like? Does it start with an intake call, then goes to a loan consultation? Who's saving the documents? Who are they sending the documents to? What happens after the loan consultation? Do you send it to the buyer, or the buyer and the realtor that referred you? What email goes out? The template that from that point all the way throughout the loan, which is when do VOEs get ordered? When does the appraisal get ordered? You want to map out the perfect process. Now, in our business, nothing is perfect, but you want to have some sort of idea of what you're shooting for and what your team is striving for. And you want to make sure that your team is aware of this process from A to Z. So you divide and conquer, you figure out the perfect loan process, and try to get your team on board and trying to make that happen on every deal. And then number 3, try to implement technology, right? So I have a CRM that's pretty dialed in, that's pretty built out, that I've spent time customizing, that I've spent money customizing. Not that you can't be successful without a CRM. You can be, but it sure helps me a lot.
It's super important. I was never big into a CRM, honestly, until I probably came over here to Keller. So for my first 3 years of business, I didn't really care about it.
Right.
And you really could see the potential as you're growing to be able to stay in contact with your past clients, future clients that you're working with now.
Right.
And as you grow and you're doing this full time and you're turning this from like a job to a career.
Right.
I feel it's super important. I wish I'd started it from day one. I wish somebody had told me, no, you got to do this starting now.
Right.
You're going to thank me later.
Right.
Because it's...
Yeah. And the marketing stuff aside with the CRM, let's say your CRM spits out 0 emails. You need to stay organized. When you're trying to scale, because your original question was like, what are you doing to, build your business and how are you overcoming the obvious difficulties of scaling? You got to stay organized. That's what my CRM's about. I mean, yes, it does a lot of marketing stuff, but like the reason I implemented it as a habit and a non-negotiable in my business is because I was trying to do more deals. Now, when you're speaking to, let's say, 4 new people a day, if you times that by 30, how many new people are you speaking to a month? How do you make sure that you spend the right time and follow up and what happened with this one? And so the CRM is crucial to all that. So divide and conquer, lay out the perfect loan process, and use some sort of technology to keep you organized. And even if that technology is an Excel spreadsheet,
right.
Like if you got to have something.
Nothing.
Yes.
Are you literally taking a phone call, and as soon as you take that phone call, you're putting that person into your CRM so you could note the file, you could remind yourself, okay, follow up with this person in 24 hours or whatever the case may be, and using it from pretty much phone call number 1?
Yeah, phone call, hopefully phone call number 1. Sometimes if I'm not at the computer or I don't feel like typing notes on the app or my CRM's app, that is, I'll lay out all of the notes in an email and send it to myself. So when I get back to a computer, I can enter them into my CRM. And what's very important about that step is because when you try to add multiple people to a loan process, they don't know what you talked about.
Right.
My assistant didn't hear that phone call.
Right.
So that was a problem that we identified and tackled. Like, all right, so now you're going to take over at this point, but you didn't hear my first phone call. So how do we use the and what ended up happening is the customer started being asked the same question more than once, which is frustrating. And I encourage my people, even if they know the answer, to ask the question again, because I'd rather annoy them and ask them where the down payment is coming from and which account than something get missed. But and there's a way to frame that conversation, but that was crucial to getting somebody else involved. You need a centralized place to keep all of that information. Otherwise, It just gets messy. More hands in the pot could be bad.
Sometimes it's a growing pain. You don't
Yes.
know how many people should you have on a file to make your life easier to be able to scale more.
Right.
But also then you have more hands in the pot where sometimes you got to swat that hand away, like you're not needed, right? Like that's not your place.
Correct.
So you've been scaling. You have the correct people in place. Obviously, there's always growing pains. What has been the best part of the system that you put in place, and what has been the most negative part so far?
So
It's a tough one.
yeah, I mean the best part is the fact that I can spend time doing this and the deals are still getting done.
Because I mean, this is your new business. I mean, this is, when people say, like, for me, they're like, doing the open house or doing stuff, in that nature. The business part is done. Like your job was to get that business.
Right.
You got it.
It's in.
Your job is the cold calling every day or the prospecting or going out and networking and meeting new people. Like that's the business development. That's building your brand. That's building more potential deals. Once you have the listing paperwork signed or a buyer agreement signed and you're working with them, like your job was done technically.
Correct. So the pro or the good part about having the, scaling and putting the systems in place is I can focus on, again, my highest and best use. So I was at a point in my business where, all right, if I want to get past this 8 deals a month, I have to figure out what activities, what tasks do I have to do on a daily basis, and what tasks I have to have somebody else do.
Right.
The tasks and my highest and best use is speaking to the client for the first time. So doing those intake calls, because I set the precedent. I know how to vet a client.
They want to talk to you.
And they also, again, were referred to me. It's networking and taking appointments, doing meetings. And, I just left a lunch meeting. And also the marketing side of things. So if I focus on those 3 things, what happens after that and who takes over after that? So that was the pro, because as right now, somebody sent over a client, sent in all their documents. It's actually a loan officer at another company that can't get the deal done, so he forwarded over me like 6 emails.
People don't realize how often that actually happens.
I mean,
I know you post a lot about it.
Yeah.
But even we deal with some loans. Where, like, we're doing a loan right now, and our bank doesn't offer the style service that this client needs. He's a business owner. Shows the guy makes plenty of money, but doesn't show enough to do it. And there's other style loans, bank doc loans, etc. Like every bank doesn't always offer
do those,
everything.
by the way.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, good to know for next time.
Yeah. So all the non-QM stuff is back. We're doing a lot of them, actually. Not me personally, our branch. But anyway, so for instance, what I was talking about before, 6 emails get forwarded to me at 8 a.m. this morning. I wouldn't have been able to work on that file until after this podcast. Gotcha. Which, who knows? Because I had a lunch appointment. I was driving here after.
Right. Who knows? Maybe something happened and you can't go.
So I wouldn't have got to the file till 6 p.m. because of traffic and everything else. Because I've implemented systems, I scaled and I delegated. The file's being worked on right now. Right. So that's the pro. Absolutely. Is I duplicate myself.
Yeah.
The con with that is as you start to duplicate yourself, finding the right people is very, very
You're never going to find another Eric Braun.
No.
You're never going to find somebody that speaks like you, talks like you, works like you. And, that's the same thing on the real estate side, like building the team. I used to get mad, and I actually had to apologize to my team yesterday for, like, sometimes I come off condescending or, like, a dick or, like, I'm better than you. But it's not that. It's like, I just want you guys to work so much harder because how much money is to be made. Like, it's life changing.
Right.
But you come off like, I had to work on, I told him, like, I just got to work on the way I come off to you. And it's just because no one's going to be yourself. No one's going to want it just like I do. It's very rare you're going to find that. And it's tough.
I think the first thing that when hiring people that you have to realize is, like Gary Vee says, you work for them.
Right.
So, and they're never going to work as hard as you, and don't expect them to. Why should they?
Right.
You have you own the company.
Your name's on the door.
Now, granted, when you talk about salespeople, it's a little different because you're just like, damn, you can make the same money as I'm making.
Right.
Like, come on, like,
and you see it, and you see their potential, but like they don't have like that drive sometimes.
all you can do. And we were at the event the other day. I think Tim Grover said, I don't want Navy SEALs. I mean,
yes.
I want Navy SEALs. I don't want baby SEALs, right? And a lot of times Navy SEAls are born, right?
Yeah,
you can't create one.
with it, yeah.
You can't create one. So you either are or you aren't. Other times you have to be developed. Like, I can honestly say, I'm hardworking and efficient, and I can get freaking more work done in an hour than a lot of people can get done in a week today. Right. That wasn't always the case. Like, I don't want to make it sound, and a lot of people don't realize that there was a development process to that. Like, I wasn't just born a super hard worker. I had examples in my life that showed me hard work was the way you did it, but I needed time. I needed guidance. I needed training. So all we can really do with the growing pains of hiring and finding the right people, you have to really ask yourself, are you doing the best job to train them? Number one. Do you have their job clearly identified? This is one mistake that I made early on.
That's a good point.
I would bring on people, and because I have a good idea of what they should be doing, they don't have that. They don't have that same picture in their head. They have no idea. It's a brand new business to them. How are they supposed to know that you want them to save and label stuff this way, right? Make sure that it's clear. This is what you do every single day. This is what you do when this happens. This is how you do it, right? Are you providing them with the material so that if they forget, they can go back to the material? And now, if you did all of that correctly, and you can honestly say, listen, I gave it a fair shot,
right,
and they don't do it, that's on them.
Right, 100%.
A lot of the times, I think, when hiring people, even at huge companies, there is no training material. There isn't, like, what I'm starting to do now is, again, now we're hiring for a position that we already have. Before, we were hiring for a new position that we were creating. Now we're hiring a second LOA and a second processor and a second marketing coordinator. So now I find myself, I'm like, crap, I wish I would have recorded all of this stuff that I taught them. So now whenever I'm explaining something to those employees or team members, I don't like the word employee, but whenever I'm explaining something, you can screen record it. Yeah. You can put it in a file, a folder, give everybody access, give everybody access to that folder. And then when somebody comes in that's new and says, how do I complete this part? How do I run credit? Right. You show them, and then you also say there's a video on this, just so in case you forget.
Yeah, I love that. It's super important because no one thinks exactly like you. And if you don't tell them exactly what you're thinking, you can't get mad at them when they don't do everything that you would have done in your head because they don't know.
It's expectations and communication.
Yeah, because that's one of the biggest things that I'm learning is we just started doing it. We wanted to make like a binder. New agent joins our team. Right. Here's a checklist of what we do when, what we're going to do from A to Z when you first join our team. Right. What has to get done? Your headshot, order your cards, this, your Zillow profile, this and that, get them all set up. Right. And then another checklist. Okay, these are all your listing paperwork, what's needed for an open house. Right. And systems. Give them a copy of it. So now it's not, we do have some videos, but now it's like, okay, you have some videos, and now you're going to have everything in your hand. So if you say, oh, I didn't have a copy of that, no, go into your binder. Like you could photocopy that and you have it. Right. It's just as you learn and as you're growing, and I don't think it ever ends. You're always going to be modifying your business some way 100%. Or some way to, you realize, oh, I picked up this, or this can make things easier, or you're going to meet somebody and they're going to have a good idea. And I'm going to jump into this right now real quick. This is why I love the podcast and I love social media. I would have never most likely probably reached out to you if, one, I didn't need a mortgage, or I didn't see you on social media because we didn't really know each other. And having the podcast made me want to reach out to you. And every single podcast I do, every single person I bring on, I learn something from them to implement in my own business in some way, shape, or form. Right. And, following yourself and, you putting out the vlog yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
And I saw that you mentioned that you now do videos.
Right.
And you send that as, as the process of your loan is going through.
Right.
You send a video, a customized video. So it's you speaking of what's going on in that process at that time.
Correct.
And I was like, that is genius and amazing. And I was like, I have the option in our CRM to do it, but it was only set up right now as a regular email.
Right.
And when you said the video aspect of it, I was like, that's so much, like, it's now they see your face again.
Correct.
You're talking to them rather than them reading an email.
Correct.
It's just a little bit more personable. It just takes that business, that one thing that you offer compared to somebody else,
Right.
to the next level.
My goal is for people, when people go through the loan process with me, if they've ever went through a loan process with any other LO, they're like, holy crap.
Right, night and day.
Yeah. And I have first-time home buyers tell me after closing, like, I have nothing to compare this experience to, but I think this is the best. Like I think this is the best possible way to go through a loan, and you did it fast, and you got back to me, and the process was super easy. Like I had some first-time home buyers say I'm spoiled. Like I was spoiled because they hear horror stories and then they do a loan with me, or they've done a loan before and then they do a loan with me. So any little thing that we can tweak matters a lot. So and what I was gonna say also to your point, if you said it's never ending. If you're not changing and pivoting and trying to perfect your processes and systems, you're going out of business. That's what I mean. Blockbuster, right? They didn't change, right? And people, and that's an extreme, obviously. And I'm not saying if you don't implement the CRM, you're going to go out of business. But like, think about all the stuff that you can change and how far that's going to take you, and what happens if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's the same thing with, I like to call the dinosaurs in real estate that are on their way out, or they're stuck in their old ways and they don't want to change, or they don't want to even, listen, if you don't want to change, you don't want to deal with social media, like anybody that's not on social media these days, regardless of your business, if you're in real estate, mortgages, or you're selling t-shirts,
right.
I think if you're not on social media, you're doing your own business and yourself a total disservice. And listen, real estate, Instagram and social media is not for everybody. Right. And if you're older and you don't want to learn it, if you're successful, pay somebody to do it. There's so many companies out there now that you could go 1 day a week, 2 days a month, whatever you want to do, and film content of some type of nature to just keep yourself relevant, keep your name in people's minds. You just got to do it.
There's no excuse anymore.
There really isn't. And, I think you do obviously a great job on social media.
Thank you.
You're posting a lot of stuff, a lot of good content. And I think that's also one of the biggest things. A lot of people post just to post, which I think is the wrong way that you should be doing it. Like when you're posting, post valuable information, but at the same time, then you can mix in a couple things that are maybe not real estate related, just to everybody doesn't want to see sold, under contract. Oh, this is what you should be doing. Like that's why I started the Rainbow Cookies reviews. Right. Just something I like. I want people to know. Oh, if they go on my page, like this is me, like this is who I am. Right. Rather than like, oh, is this when they call me, they feel like they know me already.
If you're posting just to post, then you're going to be blended in with all the other noise that's going on. Yeah. So you can't be noise. You have to stand out. How do you stand out? Make it valuable. Now, valuable can be entertaining. That is value, right? So people go to social media to learn, to be entertained, to see what everybody's doing. Like, I always try and put myself in the shoes of my audience. Like, what do I want to see on social? And you have to define who your audience is. So we can talk about social media all day, but I think, like you said, if you're not on social, you're doing yourself a disservice, and I don't think there's any excuse anymore. A lot of people, like I've been doing this for 4.5 years, at least, probably 5, the social media stuff.
Right.
And before, 5 years ago, it was like, yeah, it's probably going to be big one day. Yeah. And I probably should be doing it.
Well,
right?
It's here.
and it's here, and now it's definitely you should be doing it. And it's not like a too late thing either. I hate that mindset where it's like, the algorithm changed and you can't grow a big audience.
They're always changing.
You'd be surprised how many people you just know. Forget cold audience, forget the people you don't know. I'm not on social media to meet people like outside of my sphere, like some guy in Alaska. Right. That's not why I'm there. I'm there to stay in front of all the people that I do know, and maybe their friends and their friends.
Like their first level of...
Correct. So you like think about that first. And I think if you set, like you said, if you set aside, I used to do 3 hours quarterly. So that's 3 hours time. That's 12 hours a year
It's nothing.
to take photos. I'd bring 3 outfits.
I used to.
I used to bring 3 outfits. I'd do like 1 or 2 videos and a bunch of photos because photos were bigger than on Instagram.
Yeah, no, they changed it.
And that was it. And I built an audience with that. And I saw deals off that. I saw results off that. So even if you did an hour a week, I think you're way ahead of
Doing nothing.
Of everybody. I think 1 hour to create content a week, or maybe 2, is really, you can knock out a lot in 2 hours.
I agree.
That's what I mean. Right now, I do about 4 hours a week. I meet my videographer every Wednesday. I knock out a few videos. There's always little side projects that I'm working on. So if I need content for that stuff, I bring in my referral partners and people that I want to make content with for the first hour or hour and a half. So now I'm collaborating with them, and I do that once a week. So it may seem like I'm always in front of a camera. That's the goal,
Right.
but I'm really not.
Yeah, you do it for a couple hours, like you said, one time a week, and then you have content that's broken up.
Yep.
And you take these videos, like you said, you have their vlog, but you can then take little segments of the vlog into little micro clips, and now you just have posts for a couple days, and then you have the teasers all the way up till the vlog drops. And,
Correct. Every vlog turns into at least 5 pieces of content.
Right.
And that's like us doing it poorly right now. I think I'm just getting started with the vlog. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm figuring out. Like, how do I want to structure the videos? But every vlog so far has at least turned into 5 pieces of content. So now I'm doing a vlog and doing the 4-hour thing per week with my videographer. That's just do the math.
Right.
That's the goal is to do multiple pieces of content a day, and that's what I'm working on now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I want to jump into networking for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Networking and social media, I think, go hand in hand.
Yep.
And I feel now more than ever, I don't know if it was a COVID thing or people just want to get out of the house now all of a sudden, but I feel there's so many more networking events, or maybe I just never paid attention to all the networking events that were in the past.
Probably a little of both. I know for me it's a little of both.
But obviously on the real estate and mortgage side, you have probably one of the biggest networking events, I would say.
Thank you.
Obviously for the people that don't know what I'm talking about, brewery. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check it out.
Yeah.
You always throw a big event.
Plug it. I like that.
But I haven't been lucky enough to attend an event yet.
But it's the biggest.
But I know about it.
That's
which
not
is
that's
all
not bad.
through social media.
That's not bad.
Right? So the last one, all I know was it was a good time. Of course, every single time you had one, I couldn't make it.
Right.
But this one was because I have a new baby, so she took precedence.
And congratulations. And yes, she should take precedence.
She took precedence, so got to pick and choose.
There'll be more
the
breweries.
things I'm going out.
There'll be more brewery events, yes.
But I just want to get into like what started, brewery. Like what made you think of, one, the great name.
Thank you.
What made you kind of start doing it, and how have you seen it scale from the first one you've done all the way up to what you just had Brew 4?
Yes.
So from the first one to the fourth one, how much
Brew
have
4.
you seen like the increase in traction, or are you getting more deals from it, or is it more just you're just helping more people get in front of other people together?
Yeah. So and to answer all of those, I think it starts with why, right? So when this was 3 years ago, 2 years. It's hard because of COVID.
Yeah,
we were shut down for a year.
Right.
Basically.
More probably.
So this was 3 years ago when I think we had our first one, or at least 2.5. And I was at a point in my business where I'm like, all right, I'm doing the social media thing. I'm starting to make a name for myself. I'm starting to do some deals. But we need to have an event. We need to have an event, and I feel like our market needs it. Not only for my personal reasons to scale, to do more volume,
Right.
but I feel like our market needs it too, because I'm going to these other networking events, and something's missing.
Yeah.
Something's missing. I don't know if it's the 6 banks that sponsored it that all have to speak for 15 minutes.
Some of it's brutal.
About how they have underwriting in house, or maybe it's the stuck up ego atmosphere that I don't know. I had bad experience, not bad experiences, but every good entrepreneur like sees an opportunity that like nobody else is doing this correctly.
Right.
That's what I felt.
Yeah, you always think, okay,
We could do this better.
Exactly.
If you ever been to a restaurant, you're like, what kind, like, who's running this place?
Yeah, that's the problem. I was partners in 2 restaurants before I got into real estate. So every time I go to a restaurant and if it's like shitty,
I'm sure
I'm
you
like,
critique.
I tell my wife, I'm like,
Yeah.
I was like, how are these fucking places still open?
Can they fill up my water, please?
It's like simple shit. I was like, if this was my restaurant, I would go nuts right now.
Yeah, that waiter would be fired.
Yeah.
That waitress. Yeah, but anyway, so I felt like I could do it better. That sounds very egotistical, but it's the truth, right? So
That's what makes everybody want to do something else.
and we started. So our first brewery event, I think we had 50 people there. Second one, it was 120. Third one, it was 120, but it was at like the height of COVID in like a backyard, like secret undisclosed location.
Was that the one that was in
on the water?
Great River? Great Water?
Yeah, in Great River.
Great River. Yeah,
which
yeah.
is the town I've never heard of, by the way, until that day. But
It's
anyway,
like a little section of Islip.
yes. So we did like a mansion, like backyard waterfront property thing because no venues were taking us because Cuomo just put in the order where you couldn't do anything. And then, and we had like 300 people registered. So that one would have been
Huge.
double as well, but COVID. Then this last one we had 260 people at. It was 240 plus my team, so about 260 people.
It's great.
And everybody, there's people who have been to every one, right?
So they see the progression.
I love speaking to those people because I'm like, where this started.
Yeah.
You know,
it always means more from the people that start you're from the bottom.
And yeah, I think so. What they say is it's got better every time, and what makes brewery unique is it's a very relaxed atmosphere. Okay, so I've always pictured it as just beer and real estate, right? And now we have other
Now we got
alcohol,
cocktails.
cocktails and shots and everything like that. Because and wine, not everybody likes beers, but it was connect, relax, enjoy was our thing. So we didn't want to do any PowerPoints. We didn't want to do like I show up in a suit just out of respect for everybody coming. But we didn't want there to be like a strict dress code.
Right.
We wanted to just bring people together, have fun, drink. Some people get out of hand, but that's what makes it fun.
You're never going to change that.
And what I love now is the people who come to me that we don't even do business together, these people. And they go, I met somebody at brewery that sold me a house that I'm going to be making $250,000 on a flip.
Right.
I had somebody tag me the other day, a realtor. I met this guy at brewery. Thank you, Eric Braun, because I just sold him a house. He's an investor. So I like what's going on, even without me knowing. I'm sure there's being connections made and money being made and relationships being made.
That's the biggest thing I think is great while you do it because, yes, would it be great if you could make some loans and you bring in some loans? Yeah, you're never going to say, no, I don't want that.
Right.
But the amount of people that you bring together to network with each other that if you didn't have that event, maybe they would have never met or maybe they would have never done that deal or
Correct.
who knows where that takes them after that.
Correct.
I think is really what makes it like such a great event.
And this is where I feel like, so for selfish purposes, obviously I want to meet new people and get loans out of it, right? At this point in my business, like, yeah, let's do a deal. I'd be honored, but like, that's not what motivates me anymore. I want to build a relationship and like have long-term success. So aside from that, what I think also happens is, and this is why I recommend you go to networking events if you're a real estate agent, because forget doing a deal, like getting business. What about when your client goes to make an offer on Josh's house?
Right.
And you met Josh and you had, 2 drinks with Josh at brewery. Especially in this market, that's going to go a long way. And Josh's interest is always to the seller, right?
Whatever side you're on.
Correct. But I know having those connections are very, very important, especially in this market. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not going to networking events, not because you're looking to meet an investor, although that may happen, not because you're looking to meet an attorney who's going to send you a client that's going through a divorce, not for that reason. I think people are always thinking too short term. I think what you really get out of it is relationships. And let's be honest, without relationships, this business would suck.
Yeah, you need them.
Like,
It's true.
Think about it. If you were just if I was just looking over pay stubs and tax returns and sending pre-approvals and doing emails all day, and I never got to speak to somebody, meet new people, and the business would suck.
Yep.
So why aren't you going to networking events?
And it's so true though. What you said before of meeting people for when you're making offers or whatever the case may be, social media has done that for me. So I mean, I've only been doing it probably less than a year. Like when I'm like actually doing content,
Right.
Like even at the entrepreneur conference yesterday, 2 days, whatever it was. As I'm walking around, people are coming up to me, "Hey, Josh, I just wanted to introduce myself. I follow you. I love what you're doing.
Goes a long
I just
way.
wanted to introduce myself." And have I seen them on Instagram? Have I seen them online? Yeah, but I've like never met them in person. And like they're coming looking for me. Like I don't even know who they are technically, but it just shows you how powerful social media is that you can meet all these people who think they know you already before you technically even know them already.
Right.
Which is really wild to think of.
Right.
And that's why I think brewery is so good, like you mentioned, because you're bringing so many people in the same industry together that who knows what could happen, and why those deals happen is because you throw the event together.
Right.
So it's awesome. When's the next one?
It's not announced yet.
Not announced
I'm
yet.
thinking either I want to wait till after the new year. I think.
So
Or maybe I squeeze another one in 2021.
2020. So I saw that congratulations, you're going national?
Yeah. So we're going to allow other loan officers in other areas have their own brewery event. And I'm going to give them the full A to Z, how to be successful with it. I've written a whole success guide. Stuff that I've learned that now, like everything else in my business, has become a system. So when I want to do an event, I know where I need to start, what I need to do on day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. I know how to promote. I always break it down into the 4 Ps. So you got plan, promote, participate, and partner, which is what happens after the event, which is crucial for our business because you can throw an event, have 250 people at it, but get no business out of it.
Correct.
So I'm teaching loan officers and letting them run with this as a platform. And I think it's just going to be cool to create something that's going to add value, not only in our marketplace, but all over the place. That's what my goal is.
It is cool. So actually, before the last question, do you do any social media like advertising, like with pay-per-click ads or any type of sponsored? Have you tested like the whole sponsored,
like boosting posts and
stuff like that?
I used to boost my posts like this, and this is 4 years ago.
I'm always curious on people, like if some people say it's great, I get great returns, it cost me 80 cents for leads, and maybe I get 100 leads, but 2 of them close. Well, that's great conversion, for those cheap leads. So I'm always curious if people that do it, are they successful with it?
I don't do any paid advertising, or I should say like Facebook and pay-per-click. Do I want to? Not right now in this stage of my business. I don't want to be calling leads, nor do I have the infrastructure built out where that's going to be, we're actually going to get the value that we need out of it.
You need somebody that's inbounding those calls.
You need a whole system.
Because we're working on doing that right now, but with an ISA.
Yeah. Okay.
And
which may be something that we look into during the future. Now, I think what a lot of people don't do and don't think of when it comes to paid advertising is retargeting. So, and this is something that we help our referral partners with, is you have a database of people that you've worked with in the past, or even the leads that you're generating, right? Cold, warm, whatever it is, you have a database of customers. We want to make you a local celebrity, and I want to be a local celebrity to those people. So what do? You create 2-3 videos and you target them. You can upload a custom audience to Facebook and have videos follow them around like a real marketer. Right. And the goal from that is like, I see you everywhere.
Right. You just
that could be very cheap. That can be done very cheap. And again, this is something that we help our referral partners with. So that's like $2 a day. And I think that has a greater value at this point in my business than actually generating new leads and cold people.
Getting the people that you already know, just keep thinking Eric.
Stay top of mind. Right. That's it.
So staying top of mind, obviously super important. What is the 5-year plan / goals for Not Your Average Lender?
So I have certain numbers of personal production that I want to hit, and I'm almost there but on a consistent basis and make it feel good, right? So it's one thing to do 20 deals a month, but it's another thing to do 20 deals a month consistently and feel good, right? So I have a number for that, for my personal production. And then soon I'm going to be announcing a lot of things for loan officers specifically, just because I have a big heart for this industry because I've seen what it's done for my life.
Right.
And I have a few things that I'm bringing to other loan officers that are going to add value to them. And the goal is to build a national division of loan officers and be the elite Navy SEALs of the mortgage industry.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and do a lot of business in the process.
So is the plan to eventually get to the point where you're growing enough so largely where you have so many systems in place where you technically don't have to be on the phone every day, you don't have to be touching clients every single day? Where do you always want to be like in the field?
I like maybe some of the communication gets offloaded, maybe. But I always see myself in 5 years.
Right.
I don't think I'm going to be like, the goal is to make enough money in 10 years to be able to completely step out of personal production. But 5 years, I like the fact. So when I speak to loan officers, the reason what I speak to resonates with them so much is because I'm in the trenches, right?
Correct.
And I don't want to lose my edge. So you have people who are trying to build companies that have never been a loan officer. You have people that
we
are
spoke
trying.
about that before we got on. Like, if you're not doing it when you have a meeting with somebody, it's like,
Right.
What are you doing here?
Exactly. So, I will for the near future. I'm not stepping out of personal production anytime soon because I think that's where I get my edge, and I also need to, for the stuff that I have planned, I need to know what loan officers are facing today, right? And I don't think you can know that for like at that level if you're not in personal production.
I agree. So for the people that need a mortgage, have a mortgage related question, want to come to brewery, I don't know, they just fucking want to talk to you. How do they get a hold of you? What's the best way to find you?
So Instagram is number one, I would say. It's Not Your Average Lender. I'm Not Your Average Lender on YouTube. On Facebook, I'm Eric Braun, and my phone number is 516-265-4244. So always email me, call me, text me, DM me. It doesn't
Email.
it will get responded to. Yeah.
So, and that's one of the biggest thing now. A lot of people, you email them, you hit them up, and you don't get a response for who knows when, if you sometimes ever get one. So
it shouldn't last. Like, if you text me, it should be responded to within that day. If you email me, maybe you get a reply tomorrow. Maybe.
I mean, within 24 hours, I think is super reasonable.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe.
So, I just wanted to again say thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Wait.
Oh, we'll do a bonus. All right, bonus review. Rainbow cookie from.
Did you already do this place?
We already did this place in the beginning.
All right, but we got to give it another shot.
We got to give it a second
shot. It could be a
shot.
new batch.
Could be a fresh batch. Maybe we're wrong.
One bite, everybody knows the rules.
One cookie, everyone knows the rules.
Got it.
So cheers.
Ready? Cheers.
Is this so? Did you get this one from the one up the block or?
One up the block.
Okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. Guess goes first. 0 through 10. What do you like about it?
I think it's moist. It's not dry.
Moist. It's not too dry. The last time we had this one, it was
dry.
Yeah, it was.
I think it's the way they hold them a lot of the times. I think
Some of them have them in the fridge,
freezer, and then you ever taste food from the fridge and it tastes like all the other food from the fridge? I feel like cookies have that. It's very, especially rainbow cookies.
I remember from the time I had it, and it's not as bad from that time.
It's better.
It's definitely better.
Maybe it's because it's warmed up a little bit. It's
possibly
room temperature.
But
maybe that's what you got to do.
They only use raspberry jelly. Some people are doing raspberry and apricot. So these are things you got to take into account.
So you're a pro.
We're professional these days. After you do 25 bakeries, it happens.
Out of 10, you did 25. How are you not 300 pounds?
We order like 6, and I eat like 1 or 2, and then Mike eats 1, and then we throw the rest out.
Out of 10, I give it a 5.5.
It's low.
It's low?
Yeah. Think about it.
Would you give it higher?
I think
6?
I would probably give it a high 6. Probably I'll go like a 6.8.
I'm gonna say no. Let me. Can I change it?
No, one shot. We're gonna have to do. What we'll do is
6.1.
we're gonna no. The first
6.1.
score stands 5.5. Eric Braun, 6.8. Josh. What we'll do is we'll find another place
Right.
in like a week or two,
Right.
and we'll invite you and you'll come meet me and we'll do one more review so you could compare it.
I think that's what I need to do because rainbow cookies aren't my thing.
You don't know what you got nothing to compare it to. That's
Correct.
your first shot.
Correct.
The next one maybe you'll be like, wow, this thing blows that one out of the water. This like you can never have a 10. It's like
This
figure
is a
skating.
baseline for me.
You got to have like that's why the first 2, 3 we did we had to go back again because now we have like a structure.
Right.
The first couple were like, oh, this is an 8.
Where does this add up in reference to the other one?
It was definitely better than I think the last time I probably gave it like in the mid to high 5s. This one is probably definitely it's in the
Better.
6s. Yeah. Bonus review. What's the Pignoli cookie?
Decent. I mean, my family makes these.
Can't compare with a homemade family cookie.
No. This is a 6.
Rookie score. Gave it an even 6. All right. Braun got some work to do on the scores. We're going to figure this out for next time. But again, thanks for coming. If you have any real estate related questions, if you're looking to buy a house, if you're just curious what your home is worth, and you just want to talk anything real estate, you're just curious about the market, if this is ever going to slow down or whatever the case may be, reach out to us, 516-732-6398. Or again, check us out on Instagram, all platforms, Facebook, etc. Josh Handler _real estate. Until next time, that's a wrap.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, brother.
Good stuff.
All right. We'll
Stuff.
take
We
that photo
co-
so we don't forget, right, Mike? Yeah.